Welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amanda and today I'm playing with my Counterfeit Kit challenge and Stretch the Sketch. And this is the sketch we're using from Rebecca Lundis, I think is how you say your name. I'm not sure. London. And I'm going to do these pictures of my oldest for Pride of last year. And I pulled out these two Hip Kit Club cut files that came in a kit a long time ago and colored them up off screen. Pulled out these fruity papers and that stripe because they all came in the same paper pack. They're all part of my Counterfeit Kit challenge this month, and I'm going to use a little bit of this up. So on the sketch there was two vertical pieces and then like a wider curvy piece. So I'm going to use the stripe and the cherry for the two vertical pieces and the strawberries for the other piece because my eldest really likes strawberries, and so that's fun. And she was in and out while I was doing this layout and some of the other layouts that I did for when I was creating. And she was like, "Mom, you put fruit on my page." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a fruity activity." And I was just being like facetious, kind of trying to joke with her because she's almost 19. And she thought it was pretty funny. So maybe you'll find it funny that I put fruit on a LGBTQ2 plus layout. I don't know, maybe. So anyways, she thought it was pretty funny. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. So I'm gonna layer these up. I cut more of that stripe than I needed. I do want to have some of the green and the blue showing. The green because it ties the green in from the two papers, and the blue because Matea's got some really pretty blue eye makeup on, and I wanted to like mimic that across the page. So there's not a lot of blue that ends up on this page, but I did want a little bit. And then I'm like, how do I do this curvy piece? And so I thought I would use this. This is for a ceiling thing that I don't even know where it's at. I know where the plate is. So I used that for a curve, and I hate it. It looks like an hourglass-ish and not really that wave. And I'm like, I don't like this. And I know right away I don't like it. And then I'm like, can I make it work? I really just don't like it. Like, okay. So my camera's gonna go here. I'm like, can I make this work? No, I don't like the angle. So maybe I'll change the angle a little bit. And I still don't like it. I think my curve is too much. It's probably part of the problem. So I still don't like it. And then I'm gonna rip it and see if I like that more. And that's like a better edge, but it still wasn't. It's too much off now. I'm like, I don't know. What do I do? So I do know I want this here. I do know I want those like across the page, because in the sketch there's a horizontal, and so that's working out okay. And then I'm like, I'm just gonna try this again. So I'm gonna cut two pieces at 3x3 or 3x12. Both of them are 3. And then I'm gonna pull out a border punch and I'm gonna punch with this wave. And I like that. And yeah, that works out pretty good. And so that's doing a little bit better. I'm going to get the papers. I'm deciding how I want to back this camera. Do I want the fruit in it? Do I not? I am going to do something different, but not yet. I get these side border bookend pieces on and some of my pictures on, and then I'll decide what to do with the other bits on here. So those are the two places I want this. My title is, I am going to put a title up top where it is on the sketch too, but I really like that all smiles and I wanted to get it used up. So here we go, all border punched, getting it on. I'm just using the actual lines in that paper to help me get this on. And then I used the same stripes but mirrored them on the other side. So the right side is a mirror of the left side of this layout, and that's how I decided to stretch it this time. You could have rotated it and stretched it. You could shrink the sketch for stretch the sketch. It's just using it in a different way than originally intended. So the sketch was a 12 by 12, so anything other than a 12 by 12 goes. So I thought this would work really well with the sketch, having those all the way across, because it mimics their vertical pictures, but it does mimic the horizontal of the sketch. So yay. And then I put these three together differently than the first time. The first time I put the cherry paper down first and then slid the stripe one underneath, and that didn't work so well. So I'm going to get that on, going to get this on. And I want the goofy one in behind because there'll be more or less of it showing than this one where she's giving me the goofy smile but it's actually smiling. So, and then that's going to go in straight, and that mimics, actually keeps a lot of what the pictures are doing the same across. And I like that. And not enough room up top. We're going to keep those both on the bottom. Those mimic the flower in the sketch. So that works out. And then I thought I'd use some of my forgeries on the 4th for the berries I made. And spoiler, I am not going to use these on this layout yet either. But if you come back tomorrow, I am going to use them on tomorrow's layout. So, but I really wanted to use them. I made all of them up and I hadn't yet. I still have my 12 by 12 paper to do too. And then on the sketch, there was these 3 little bits that were going up in a square, and it said photos or embellishments. I'm going to use them as embellishment clusters, but I am going to keep them in that square kind of thing. And when you're stretching this, you could definitely make that bigger. Like a 3 by 3 would actually fit in that spot at the moment. So you could totally go bigger for those. I stayed them at 2 by 2 just because I wanted something small enough to anchor across the 3 papers for the patterns, but not crazy. And then I'm using the yellow ink on some watercolor paper so I can have a backing for this. So I pull in the yellow in some other spots, and then I'm going to do this is Lumberjack Red, and then I'm going to do some more Festive Berry on the camera just to make it pop a little bit more. I wanted some of the lighter pink on it to match the strawberries. I wanted some of the darker to match the cherries so that it didn't feel not as cohesive. So I wanted a little bit more cohesive feeling. And then I'm going to do the same thing with these, but I'm going to do the lemon on the bottom and then the Festive Berry on the top, just to add that blending. And then I am going to add a whole bunch of other ink and splatter and stuff to this so that you get the lighter pink in here too. And I do spray this with water. I go get paper towel. I let it sit for quite a bit. I actually cut quite a bit of the time out for that because this layout actually took me an hour and a half to do. So a good chunk of time to do this one. But it is 2 papers, like 2 layouts in essence. So, and then it dries ish. I'm gonna glue this on, and then so this is me putting the glue on, and then I'm just gonna fussy cut around the camera, and that's how I'm gonna back this one. And that is it. That's all I'm gonna do with the paper part of things on this one. I do put splatters on it in a second, but it is going to go right here underneath like the flower was, and I think that's super cute. And I think that's going to pull the yellow to both sides, so that makes me happy. And then the squares, I'm not quite finished with, but I'm going to try on both sides and see what I think. And I'm like, it does pull in the color from the cut files that I added now, but it doesn't pull in the lighter pink. So I am going to do some stuff with it to pull in some of the lighter. I thought maybe adding the strawberries and stuff on top, which has the lighter pink in it, would work, but I'm like not super feeling them on this one. I think partly because the style of the berries was different on the pattern paper and on that stamp set. So I was like, we'll try something else. So this is picked raspberry, and I'm going to add some water and do some splatters and some smooshing and some different things. So splatters to start with. Just wanted to like pull in some of the other pinks. And then I think this one is Tattered Rose. I'm going to use it. That one's a Distress ink. I'm going to use the oxide and spun sugar, which ends up being really light, but it actually works out okay on this one. You can see quite a bit of it when you get going on it. You get close enough, I guess, maybe. And then smooshing. And that is pulling some of the color up, which is perfectly fine. And I like that more. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the spun sugar just to give like that lighter pink. And that works out pretty good. Yay. And then I have all this stuff on my desktop, so I'm going to add some more water. I'm going to do some smooshing on a piece of paper to back the all smiles, and I get enough to do the all, and then I have to do some more to do the smiles, but it is what it is. This takes quite a bit of time to do this kind of mixed media. It's like easy and fun, but it does take a bit between like the cleanup, the dry, the mess, and so I didn't dry through all of my layers, but some of them I did. So here I didn't, but if I wanted definite different colors to show up, then dry time is important. I can do that with my heat gun too, and so splatters on the camera, and then I'm going to get this all on and cut out. So I'm going to do just the all because I did not plan the paper properly. Don't have enough. So this is going to go on like so. I'm going to cut it out off screen because you don't need to see all of that. And then I'm doing some more for the bottom. So I've got a big mess of ink there, and that's totally okay. And I did want this a little bit darker than the top one, just because I wanted it a little bit more. So, and then a little bit of yellow on there to tie in the yellow. And you see me dry in between, so that gives more of a yellow look to it, and then some more water to pull some of that up to give it more of that splotchy look. And make sure I get the yellow. And then again, I'm going to cut out this top of this A, and then I'm just going to put this bottom one on, and then I'm not going to cut that out for the inside pieces. I'm just going to let them all stay in because I just didn't want to. Because if I cut the A out, then I would have to cut out like in between the S and the E's, and I didn't want to do that. So this works out pretty good. You can tell what it says, and it's all good. So, and then these go on, and I am paying attention to how the gradient is going because I do want it to travel from one square to the next. And I did think about backing it for 1 second in this, but I thought that would look funny with the other lines, so nope. And these are going to go on. Yay! You see why it took me so long to do this layout today? And these are still a tiny bit wet. It is watercolor paper, so they didn't actually, they hold the water really well because that's what watercolor paper is meant to do. But glue is important at that point because I don't want them coming off as they dry, and the tape runner will have it come off, but it's dry enough. It's not going to bleed onto the paper either, so like the background paper. And then using my T-square so I can get them so they are on the same kind of spot on the page. And then going to glue this on. And this is not going to get tucked because I do want to see that S. I did think about it in a couple different spots, but it is essentially going to go there. And then I'm going to pull out the sticker book from Simple Vintage, from Simple Stories. I can't remember what this one's called, but if you want to know, I'll look it up. I am almost done the sticker book, I think. But I'm going to get a whole bunch of stickers on it from here, because I decided this pink is actually the same kind of pink in the strawberries, and if I don't use berries, then like a more detailed pretty one would work. This is a phrase sticker that says, "'Tis often the little things that hold the greatest meaning," and so I'm going to put that underneath the all smiles, well, in between. I did think about doing it on the bottom, but I didn't leave myself enough room, and on the top I thought it looked a little funny, but right there I think it looks really good. And then some more stickers. I liked that one there because of the yellow, and then this slide up here ties in a little bit more of the blue, and I'm going to do my journaling on both of those squares, and then a little bit more blue down here. Yay! So I got all the colors tied in a little bit. So, and then this says kind, and I think those ones are pretty good for being done. And then I thought I wanted something here, mostly because I have a little bit of blocked white space there. I'm like, this would be cute, but not quite. And then I'm like, this one is cute, but not quite. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I will do a title. And I couldn't use I wanted to use the typewriter button key alphas that's in this book, but I have no more E's left. So that was frustrating. So then I'm like, do I use the beautiful? I could use the beautiful. I don't know. It's okay. Maybe one of these here. And that would have been all right. And had I kept it, I would have put another one on the other side underneath the other S. But I'm like, no. These ones, I'm gonna try one more time. No. Here, no. I really tried. Can't say I didn't try. And then I did want to use that perfectly imperfect, but I'm going to use it tomorrow too. So, yay. And then I'm using my yellow brush just to add a little bit of yellow around the edges. I like that shadowing that it gives, just a touch. And then I'm going to use these chipboard alphas, and I'm going to spell out Pride 25. And then my daughter gave me a hard time because she's like, what's 25? I'm like, well, it was 2025. She's like, well, why didn't you write 20 in there? I'm like, there's 20. Like, no, Mom, it's not 25. It's 2025. I'm like, but in like, you're not going to live to the next 25 for gear. And she's like, ugh, you're so weird. So, Pride 25 as in 2025. I love her, but sometimes. And just taking a look, took them apart. I'm going to put my journaling on, and it just says all set to go to Pride 2025 XOXO, and then the other one says June 8th 2025 with a heart. And then I'm using these glitter dots from Nubo, and it was plugged, so I used the end of a paper clip, and that worked for a bit, but the cloggy bit comes back up and clogs it again. So I actually have to take the top off and poke the paper clip through the opposite way eventually. So, but I wanted a little sparkle on the Pride one as well. So Matea made I told her that it needed to be fruity and sparkles, and then she said, and you have curved lines on there, Mom. It's not a straight layout. So I don't know. Yeah, punny with the paper. She asked me if I did the wavy line on purpose. I'm like, well, on purpose because it was in the sketch and I liked it. And she's like, no, on purpose because it's an LGBTQ2 plus layout and it's not a straight line. I'm like, oh no, not that punny, but it could totally be that punny. My flicking on this side, it took too long, so they didn't actually flatten out like enamel dots normally do, and the Nuvo does, and I did put my hand in it, so because yeah. But lots of sparkle on there. There's some sparkle on the lens and the flash bulb for the camera, and then all around and in that little one spot where I was like that white space is trapped, now it's got sparkle. And here's some close-ups. There is a playlist for Stretch the Sketch that gets added to each month, so there is a ton of layouts there already with all sorts of different sketches, and there'll be a ton for this sketch that I did today, so make sure you go and take a look at that and give some love to all the people playing along, because that's really appreciated. And all the pictures, and then all together, and one more, because thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate the time you take to like, subscribe, and comment. And it was a longer video for me today, so if you made it this far, thank you so much, and have yourself a wonderful day.